When you become a catch-all for everybody, you get the wrong clients. And that's what really slows down the business, right? It doesn't matter if you're an agency like us or you're a home improvement business. If you're going after every client underneath the sun, you're going to find that the client itself derails your business practice. It derails your understanding of how to do the best practical service that you can.
Welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs, growing 1% everyday podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs podcast, where we get to discuss how to grow 1% every day in both business and in self. Today, we have Tom Denford with ID Comms, a global agency partner that is working with Fortune 100 companies to remove their bad spend. They analyze millions of data points around media and creative to constantly optimize and find a higher degree of success for their clients every single day. Thank you, Tom, for joining us.
Very good. I appreciate the intro because that's a very good explanation of what we do. So I like that. Thank you.
Bad spend is the reason for bad advertising in my eyes, right? A lot of businesses out there, the world that we've evolved into, the digital era, allows us to see this data so much clearly. But, back in the day, you spend money on a radio or you spend money on billboard and 95% of that's going to the wind. And nobody never knew. They never knew where the dollar was going. But it seems like you've really taken an approach on how to remove that bad spend. Can you give me a little background and a basis of kind of where this concept came from, where you built this business from, and where you get your passion from?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, it's definitely a passion's a good point because that's kind of what drives us. But the context of this is that brands that we all know, big kind of famous brands, they spend about $1 trillion each year on advertising. Okay, if you were to rank that in terms of country GDP, they'd be a top 20 country in the world. Advertisers collectively, it's a lot of money that goes into advertising, and 70% of that in most brands is media, and that is the cost of putting ads in places, not the making of the ad, but distributing it through all the channels that we know, through the TV, print, radio, but all the social media channels and search and lots of other things, influencer and retail media, all these kind of things that we know. I know we're bombarded with ads, and so maybe people probably don't like that, but a lot of money goes into getting ads in front of you. So that's a lot, $700 billion each year goes in media, and for most marketers, that's their largest investment that they make in their kind of communications budget. But it's the part that they don't understand, or it's the bit they understand the least. And that's typically, which you hinted on, digital advertising particularly is so complex. There's thousands of different places now that their dollars go. They can't keep track of them. That supply chain, that kind of path to distribute those dollars it lacks transparency. So it's not just one company. They're not giving their money direct to a website or direct to a publisher. It goes through sometimes dozens of companies that touch their dollars on the way to reaching the actual ad and touching consumer. And for most marketers, then it's hard to know what's working and what's not and what's wasted. And so that's why we founded the company 15 years ago, really at the very early stages of this complexity, but really before social media had blown up, before programmatic media had kind of really taken grip, relatively earlier days of search marketing. It's way more complex now. And ID Comms, our business, is a growth consultancy specializing in media and advertising. And the reason we say that is because we think that every dollar that a marketer puts into media should drive some kind of positive outcome, drive growth for the business. And so we try and optimize to that. And I'm happy to kind of talk through how we do that if it's interesting.
Yeah, no, extremely interesting, because there has been multiple different platforms that have come out and made big waves in the industry, like Triple Whale, Northbeam, Hyros, all of these different platforms that are focused on an attribution model to be able to see this data a little more clearly, but they're still not 100% accurate. And the combination of offline and online events for most businesses is the hardest thing to track. So when you looked at this and you created this business, us as business owners and the entrepreneurs and business owners listening to this right now, we all are out here to solve a problem, right? Everyone listening to this is here to solve a problem. Problem that you saw, that there was bad spend going into the market, or that they couldn't lean into their good spend. What was the main issue they saw? Maybe just the clarity itself of the data so they know where to move. But when you looked at the problem, was there one thing that stood out that you said that this needs to be solved?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good question. And so we take, and some of those analytical companies or tools that you talk about are, maybe they're very good businesses. We kind of pan back out from the industry. So we're not looking at like one part of it. We're looking at the entire money flow, all the way from when it leaves the marketer's pocket all the way to when it reaches the the ad is served, or a potential customer sees an ad. And there are inefficiencies all through that. It's not just an attribution or optimization technique, because obviously not everything is digital. And also, there's lots of people involved in this. It's still a people business. As much as we like to think it's a kind of, it's an AI-driven automated business, there's still a lot of people and actually fundamental decision making. So there's people that are setting the parameters, the people that are setting the kind of the guardrails of what's acceptable, of what they want to buy, who they want to target, all these kind of things. So decision making is often, there's inefficiency in that. So we have to go kind of all the way back up the chain, we don't just treat the symptoms, if you like, but we kind of go back to the root cause. And so if we're sat with a marketer, what we try and do is just make it really easy for those brands, that marketers, to understand how their media resources are actually working. So then they can do more of what drives growth, waste less money, and not have to spend time worrying about the risks and complexities of media. Because for most brand managers, CMOs and marketers, they don't want to think about media. They don't want to be worrying about media. What they want to be focused on is their customers, and they want to be thinking about their brand and their messaging and their positioning and their products and things like that. They don't want to be distracted with the complexities of media. So we try and encourage marketers to actually spend less time on media, which is a kind of slightly weird thing, given that's what we do. We want you as a marketer to just worry about media far less, spend more time thinking about those fun things. And so we do that in 3 simple ways, basically. So we look at a brand's internal media capabilities, and we want to make them more effective. And that looks at just a marketing organization. So within most brands, there's a team of people who are the marketing team. And we look at the people, the workflows, the data, technology that they're using, and we recommend improvements to the marketer of how they can best be set up for best practice. And we do that with very large companies with hundreds of people in their marketing departments. Once we've kind of got that model, aligned with the marketer, then we look at their external media partners or their external agencies. And so we do assessments of agencies and other partners to make sure that the marketer has the right resources aligned with their goals and also aligned correctly with their internal organization, and ensure that, again, it's people business primarily. I mean, it's facilitated through a lot of technology, but we want people in agencies to be very clearly aligned with the people in the marketing department, and they can operate together very productively and transparently. And then finally, the third part is that we then analyze the money flow through that system so that we can see that media budgets can be more effective. And that's a lot of money. I said to you at the beginning, like 70%, that's $700 billion. We don't look at all of it, but that is the money flow of media, $700 billion each year. And a ton of that is wasted through a whole different list of areas, which I probably won't go into. But what we can do for the marketer then is show them what's not working, what's wasted, reinvest that back into things that work. Sometimes they just take that back and put it against their bottom line and kind of because they can cut their budgets and achieve the same. Right now, that's good business. Some brands who really on a drive for growth want to take the stuff that's not working so well, put it into stuff that does work better, and that drives growth. And so the summary of that is we hopefully make media more fun for people because it's less of a headache. That's the idea. And we have fun along the way. But we also make sure that every dollar that they're investing in media is going to work a lot harder all the way through their team, their agencies, and then out through the supply chain.
Less stress, higher efficiency. But the one thing that you brought in that I have not heard from many other agency partners with companies like this is the integration that you do internal to their team, to be able to walk in and work with them one-on-one to make sure there's alignment. There is so much disconnect with these larger companies. And that's all inefficiencies where dollars are burnt, right? They're just going into the wind. So to hear, especially from your positioning of, you're going to walk in and help them grow, but you're going to start by redeveloping what they consider their foundation, their internal practice and their team structure. Then develop, past that foundation, how are your team and your structure communicating to your outside agencies or partners or whatever it might be? And then how does that all lead to the efficiency of the advertising and the success behind it? Incredible. So, I mean, Tom, honestly, that is the 3 steps that I think most agencies and most businesses need to be taking to support a client or to support a business. But that initial one of working through their foundation is usually tiptoed around, right? That's the one that's avoided.
Yeah.
With your expertise, your time in the industry, it's awesome to hear that you get to walk in and redevelop their expectation and structure, and then let that flow to the entire ecosystem of their success.
Mhm.
Let's get in a little bit to the type of businesses that you're working with. You're highlighting a little bit right now. We brought up in the beginning of Fortune 100 companies, but can you outline who is an ideal client for ID comms?
Yeah, I mean, most of our customers, uh, they're major advertisers. So the average, I would imagine, is that a brand is investing 150 to $500 million a year in paid media. So these kind of major investments. Some of our clients spend over $1 billion a year in media, and we kind of track all of that spend. Um, but some clients, maybe spend 20-30 million dollars. So that's kind of upwards for 20 million. But the spend is part of it. Because obviously there's a cost of our service, and so probably below that, maybe advertisers, maybe we can give them some tips of things that they could do themselves. We have tons of resources, and we give away a lot of stuff for free. But most of our clients are kind of major advertisers in the US and in Europe. Um, the thing that's common to, and obviously we don't work with every advertiser, we work with a good chunk of the market. The commonality probably across all of our clients is that, and what we like is that they're ambitious, that they believe they're brand-led businesses. So they're very much brand-led. They've got marketers who believe in brand. And when it comes to media, the commonality is that they believe media is an investment in growth. It's very easy because it's such a lot of money. It's very easy for businesses to see their media budget as a big, giant number each year and think, well, that's a cost. We've got to cut that. We've got to cut that down each year. But if you think that media is an investment in growing your business, you wouldn't cut it. And our job is to try and make that an investment that becomes more effective each year. So the kind of businesses that hire us typically see media as a driver of growth in the business, and they just want that to be incrementally better, which is, I love the word Kaizen, because that's exactly the spirit of how we approach analyzing media. We say to a marketer, we've got to make this incrementally better each day, each year. What can we be doing to make it better? Because if you see advertising as a competitive advantage, then the better you make it, the more, you'll beat your competition every day. And that little gap that you start with, it grows into a big, wide competitive advantage over time. So keep doing it, but get better over time. So I love the spirit of that, and that's what we do.
Tom, there's a uniqueness there that I really want to bring up, because we've gone through so many years in the marketing world where a lot of these Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies focus on brand recognition, brand awareness, and not direct response for the dollars spent out to come back in revenue into their pocket, right? And you just highlighted there. And it's seen in small businesses, it's seen in large businesses, it's seen across the board. And recently, I'm a big fan of Common Thread Collective, right? It's a great YouTube page. If you guys haven't seen it, good content around there, specifically around media buying structure. But one thing that they highlight is with their Fortune 500 companies, about halfway through 2024, there was a mindset shift that you have obviously been doing for the last 15 years. But they emphasize that there was a shift from brand to profit, not just revenue, but actual profit generating efforts, right? Can you explain a little bit how your mindset brought that in so early, right? Because that's where my curiosity comes to. I talk to a lot of different people that are working with these larger businesses and these Fortune 500 companies. A lot's focused on brand recognition. It seems you're taking that and not just doing brand recognition, but brand recognition and the emphasis of the growth of the business. Is that something that you initially had when you started the company? Is that an idea that you kind of built over time? Tell me where that came into play.
Yeah, it's funny because it's the principle upon which we based the business when we founded the business originally in 2009. It's a long time ago now. It's 15 years ago. So a lot of your listeners will be like, well, what happened in 2009? But if those that were around, remember that was there was a recession. There was a credit crisis. A lot of businesses were laying people off. They were cutting their advertising spend. And at the time, in 2009 there was a shift where people saw advertising maybe less as an investment and more as a cost. And so therefore, for the next decade, really, advertising was really seen as this kind of reluctant, painful cost that businesses had to burden. It just coincided, and this is why we set the business up, it coincided with an explosion of complexity in media, which is what we started talking about, right? There's thousands of places now that you can put your money to reach customers. And media was getting really complicated, hard to understand. And when that kind of met the need of the advertiser to cut cost, it created really a supply chain to provide cheaper and cheaper and cheaper media, because that's really kind of what the buyer was asking for at the time. They were trying to cut cost, and their media audiences were fragmenting, and it just is created a culture particularly in media, but really in advertising more broadly, where cheap is good. And what's happened, there are huge follow-on implications of that. Brands have been buying poor quality that doesn't reach customers, and so they've been focusing on the efficiency or cost efficiency. They want to buy the same thing cheaper and cheaper. They want to buy an impression in front of what they think is a person as cheap as possible. Of course, there's loads of people that will sell you very, very poor quality ad impressions on pages that have tons of ads that nobody ever sees, or even just, bots that are clicking on ads. Advertisers are paying for this stuff, thinking that they're reaching humans, and they're not. And if they really stood back and thought, I wonder why it's so cheap, it's because it's completely fake and it's not real. So there's a huge part of money, of this billions of dollars. Really, it's been well researched now, billions and billions of dollars each year that go into non-existent ads, counterfeit impressions, ad fraud, very, very low quality. We've all seen those websites where you go, it's like clickbait, right? You click and it launches a little bit of content which looks like it's been written by some AI bot, and it's got tons of ads and they all overload each other. Those things are not there for us as readers. Those are there to provide very, very cheap ads to brands. If you go on those pages, you'll see ads for very famous household brands. These are not low quality brands and low quality products. These are premium products advertising in very low quality places. So that was the insight that we had right at the beginning when we founded, was that there was this confluence between a demand for lower price and the supply chain was going to get so complex that you couldn't track it. And fast forward, we're kind of in the right place at the right time, I suppose, as more marketers wanted greater transparency, better understanding of where their money was going, first off, and then try to figure out, okay, what are we spending that actually works? What connects with people? Primarily, it's a pretty low bar. Let's connect with some humans. That's the first thing. And then let's try and connect with the right people in the right time, in the right place, the right message that we can influence their behavior and encourage them over time. So there's definitely that shift from, what was called performance advertising, but was really trying to throw money at very low cost impressions, trying to get clicks that actually turned out not to be customers, now to an aspiration, to clear a higher bar in terms of quality, because the marketer really cares about where their brand show up in the world, and media is where your brand shows up in the world. So we are finding that mindset shift, and it's happened. So some of our clients have been doing that, maybe thinking that for a few years, but now it's wholesale. That is where marketers are thinking, is that they want their brands to be in good quality places, and they're willing to pay a little bit more now to get those brands in good quality places. And they fund that through activities like ours, which just cut out all the crap, all the waste, all the fraud, all the nonsense that they don't need, so they can reinvest in media, which helps support their brands and reach actual customers and drives actual outcomes. So a slightly long story to a short question, but it does come right from the beginning of the company, was founded upon that principle.
Long answer with amazing intellectual and evidence that I don't think most business owners truly understand. Twitter was my prime example of that. I would run campaigns on Twitter and see a CPC of 1 cent, and I'd see 10,000 clicks from my ad, and my landing page would have 5 views. It just, the data wasn't consistent. First thing that Elon did, right? Elon went in and cut through all of the bots, and he made it very aware to everyone how unreal the Twitter space was. But it's the same thing if we look at Meta advertising. Meta offers 7 different campaign ideologies that we can run, and I can run $20 million behind a reach campaign for branding that would get me 0 generated online sales or 0 leads, where I can run a conversion campaign for $100 and I can see immediate leads come in or immediate sales. Yeah. So, you're hitting a factor that I don't think most of these small to medium-sized businesses understand. I think it's what Fortune 500 companies and Fortune 100 companies need to be diving into today, because there is a lot of bad placements online. And I love what Alex Hermosi and Russell Brunson both talk about with, if you can spend the most to acquire a customer, you will win the market, right? Because as you said, it costs a little bit more to get in front of the right consumer base. And that is true across all of these platforms.
Yeah.
I talk to a lot of people. You are on top of it. I love the conversational flow. I love to understand that your deep level of understanding of how you work to successfully grow these companies. But to have this level of conviction and to have this understanding, you got to go through some trials and tribulations in your business and in your life to have this degree of confidence and success. Do you have any stories that you think the listeners would resonate with of a problem or something that happened in your 15-year long career with ID Comms that made you change the business or change your mindset because of a problem that arose, or something maybe that our listeners would resonate with that you've dealt with over the last 15 years?
Yeah, so it's always a good question. And it gave me an opportunity to kind of reflect, because I mean, it's a cliche, but you learn more from your mistakes, than you do from your successes. And if any entrepreneur said they'd never made mistakes and they've learned it all from success, it's a lie. So we're a better company with the mistakes that we make. It's annoying as a founder when you know that you've gone down a dead end or that you've made mistakes, particularly obviously if those become expensive things. But they are your biggest lessons, because they give you the biggest bruises. For us, I think trying to be too many things to too many people is always dangerous. I always very proudly said at the beginning of our foundation of our company, and I say this to entrepreneurs now, or people setting up businesses, is the more niche you are, the bigger your global marketplace, which sounds totally counterintuitive. And this is more true now than ever, because you can literally stand up businesses anywhere on the planet now. It's not like that you could just, we used to say that 15 years ago. What we meant was, if we're really, really good at something in London, and now I'm based in the US the last 6 years, but we founded the business in London. If you're really, really good at doing something in London, people in America will find you and ask you to work for them. It's exactly what we did. We were very specific, all the things that I've just talked about. And we suddenly get loads of customers from the US. And that allowed us 6-7 years ago to set up a business to expand it across North America because of that. If we had just been a generic kind of marketing consultant, we'll do anything. I mean, you can find one of those anywhere, right? You can find them on any street. But because we were very specific, and of course, internet digital tools allow us to reach audiences all around the world, they find you as well. So the more specific you are, the more you're going to show up in the lives of the people who are your potential customers. So that's probably the biggest and most important piece of advice. We had it in mind at the beginning, but we've definitely strayed from that. And those have been mistakes where we've made mistakes, is just try and be a bit too much. Somebody asks us to do something because they know we're good, and we think we don't really do that, but we could do that. So we go and do that. And then I think, such a waste of time. It distracted us from our core purpose and mission. So that is really important advice, is, find something that you want to do. Don't be scared to be niche. Don't try and be everything. Be as specific, be as absolutely as niche as you can possibly be, and you'll find a good marketplace, and just serve that market. Don't get distracted.
The stronger your niche, the larger your global pull. That is an incredible, incredible statement, because I don't think a lot of business owners understand that when you become a catch-all for everybody, you get the wrong clients. And that's what really slows down the business, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if you're an agency like us or you're a home improvement business. If you're going after every client underneath the sun, you're going to find that the client itself derails your business practice. It derails your understanding of how to do the best practical service that you can. Tom, with that being said, incredible business that you've developed, incredible structure that you've put together. And the fact that, one, your understanding of how a business is supposed to function, from the internal practices to the agencies to the outbound efforts of the media, and how that media is actually supposed to be there to drive revenue, not just brand awareness and recognition for the company, puts you in a position where you're there to support businesses. So as entrepreneurs and business owners listening to this right now, if all this content thus far has been absorbed by you and you're starting to understand this, look into your internal practices, look into the agencies that you're working with, and reach out to Tom and ID Comms if you are in the vertical that he is working with. Like he said, he knows his clients, he knows who he can help best. If you fit into that realm, reach out to him. Tom, how would these people find you? How can they get connected with you? Where's the best place for them to connect with you one-on-one and get an audit or start the process with you?
Well, I mean, the best place is just go to our website, which is pretty easy to follow. It lays all of this kind of program out. It's idcoms.com, idcoms.com. And those three areas that I talked about earlier, they're all kind of mapped out. You can see how we provide effectiveness and impact to the brands that we work with. You can find me on LinkedIn, Tom Denford on LinkedIn. I think I'm the only Tom Denford. There may be another one, but Tom J. Denford, you can find me on LinkedIn. And that's it. Yeah.
Perfect. All that information is going to be found below in the description. There's one last question I'm going to ask you before you jump off.
Yeah.
How do you find your Kaizen? For the business owners and entrepreneurs listening to this right now, a Kaizen is a Japanese business philosophy that means 1% progression every single day in both business and in self. Personally, I'm an athlete. I train a lot. I study a lot. I'm a nerd. I read a lot of books, podcasts, and I absorb. And I really attain a lot of my knowledge from the old mentors, books, and YouTube. What do you do, Tom, to be on the cutting edge of not just yourself personally, but with your business? How do you find your Kaizen?
Yeah. I love the question. I approach it from a different way. It's not a thing I particularly do. It's what I don't do. Is that if you leave me to my own world, I will try and grow 10% a day. I mean, I'm horribly impatient. So my biggest discipline is, accepting 1% a day. And even that is amazing. Do you know what I mean? But I can't grow 10% a day, but I'll get frustrated that I can't, of the 9 that I can't do. And so the biggest discipline, I think, my Kaizen discipline is accepting the incremental improvement, because it will just come. I mean, just focus on today and get through the day. That's the thing. You get through the day. Everything, I will say to myself, I have it written on my wall here, everything is progress. So everything is a part of the journey. Even if it's bad stuff, it allows you to do something else. It shapes the decisions that you're going to make in the future. So I think the 1% for me comes every day. I've just got to temper that. I have to approach every day with patience and understanding this is a long game. It's a long game, kind of generate value and be patient. That's what I tell everybody, just be patient. No. And I'm not very good at it, but be patient.
Tom, I love that. I love that across the board. You've built an incredible business over here in the last 15 years. And ID.coms, for all the listeners, have you guys gotten this far? All of his information is going to be below in the description. His website is contact and information. And if you've gotten this far, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the video. Tom, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. I hope you have a good day. And for the listeners out there, we'll see you on the next one.